Trimix has always been treated as something other in diving. It's something technical, it's something specialist, it's something you can only touch once you've crossed an invisible line. But BSAC's new Deeper Diver course does something genuinely different. And I think it mirrors what happened when Nitrox first became mainstream. Now, if that comparison holds, this course could quietly change how we think about helium and who gets to use it. In this video, I'm going to do 5 things. First, I'll explain what the BSAC Deeper Diver course actually is and what it isn't. Second, I'll explain how it extends what divers are already qualified to do at sport diver level all the way down to 50 metres. Third, I'll compare it to how Trimix is taught by other agencies, PADI, TDI and GUE, because that context really matters. Fourth, I'll explain why I think this represents a genuine cultural shift, similar to what happened with Nitrox in the early 90s. And finally, I'll talk honestly about what I don't like about the course, because obviously no training program should be above criticism. If you're someone who regularly dives beyond 30 or 40 metres, this one's worth sticking with. I think it's easy for us to forget now, but Nitrox was once deeply controversial. In the late 80s and the very early 90s, it was viewed as dangerous, experimental, and not suitable for normal divers. What changed wasn't the gas, it was how divers were taught to think about it. Nitrox all of a sudden stopped being framed as a way to go deeper and started being framed as a way to reduce risk, less nitrogen loading, more safety margins. And here's the crucial part I think people forget. Nitrox didn't become normal because everyone did checkout dives. Most Nitrox certifications are academic only. You learn gas analysis, maximum operating depths, oxygen exposure and planning, and then you apply that knowledge to dives that you're already qualified to do. Today, even very junior divers routinely use Nitrox, and nobody considers that technical diving or unsafe or risky. It happened because the thinking was normalised. BSAC's Deeper Diver course feels to me like an attempt to do the same thing. This is a theory-led course. It consists of 4 modules covering deeper diving physiology, narcosis, cognitive impairments, gas density, work of breathing, decompression theory, planning, redundancy and decision making. Only after that knowledge is in place do divers have the option of progressive depth extending dives in 5 metres increments up to a maximum of 50 metres. Of course, that progression is deliberately conservative. No big jumps, no stacking multiple depth increases, and no rushing experience. For me, that's a really important part of the conversation. A BSAC sports diver is a slightly unusual qualification. It doesn't directly align to many other agencies' equivalent, but they are qualified to plan and execute decompression dives and can do depth progression up to 40 metres using air and Nitrox. Historically, BSAC has always permitted the use of air and then Nitrox down to 50 metres. So that's not new. But what is new is our understanding. We now know more about narcosis and cognitive impairments. We know about gas density, work of breathing, carbon dioxide retention, and how performance degrades at depth. The BSAC Deeper Diver course doesn't suddenly give permission to go deeper. It extends the qualification gained at sports diver by giving divers the understanding and the knowledge to choose between air, Nitrox and Trimix. Air and Nitrox remain permitted. What the course does is gives people the information and the education to say that there may be better options and here's how to understand the risks. It doesn't mandate helium, it educates divers. And that educational intent, I think, is at the heart of this course. BSAC explicitly allows Trimix during the progression dives, but within strict guardrails. Oxygen stays sensible, so no less than 20%, no danger of hypoxic mixes. Helium is capped, no more than 40%. Partial pressure of oxygen stays conservative with a maximum of 1.4 bar. This is not hypoxic Trimix. It's not about extreme depth. It's about recognising that narcosis and gas density become increasingly important factors the deeper that you go. In this course, helium is being framed the same way as Nitrox was, as a risk management tool, not a badge of technical identity. Other agencies, such as TDI and PADI, treat Trimix as explicitly technical. They're multiple gas courses with switches and twin sets, and these are excellent courses, but they're designed to create technical Trimix divers, which is fantastic. But the BSAC Deeper Diver course isn't trying to do that. They have other courses for that. It's targeting divers who are already going slightly deeper and saying, let's improve how you think, plan and choose gas. Now you might say, well, isn't that what GUE does as well? And it's absolutely a good point. GUE does normalise helium, but once again, within a full technical system. To access helium in GUE, you must pass fundamentals to a high standards. You must have their fixed equipment configuration. You must use standard gases and commit to a strict team-based approach. I mean, that system works extremely well for them, but it is kind of all or nothing. The BSAC Deeper Diver course isn't doing that. It's offering something different. It's giving understanding without requiring the total system adoption. So if you're a BSAC Deeper Diver and you want to stick Trimix into your 12-litre cylinder or your 15 or your twin set, you can do any of those things. You don't have to have a twin set. You don't have to have a decompression stage. You just have to understand that putting helium in is probably going to give you a slightly more of a decompression penalty. And when you do your planning, you need to make sure you've got enough gas for that. Now, there will be people out there who consider this course to be absolute heresy. They will think that Trimix can only be used in a GUE configuration twin set, or you can only dive Trimix if you've got a staged decompression gas, or you can only do it if you're in a team or wearing a rebreather or whatever else it is. And you know what? It's entirely fine to have those views. Wouldn't it be dull if everybody was the same? All I'm going to say is maybe 30 years ago, people felt exactly the same way about Nitrox. Nowadays, it's not a conversation anybody's ever going to have. And I think that's where we're going to end up with this. We all know that depth changes decision making. It becomes more difficult. The consequences are more significant. You get task fixated. Comms are degraded. So this course is targeting these failure modes directly by focusing people on the knowledge of the physiology, the planning and the judgment before anything else. Now, one thing I need to be honest about, my name appears in this manual, and I think it's especially important that because of that, I'm honest about the parts of the course I don't agree with. The first issue is the entry level. Deeper Diver currently sits at dive leader, and personally, I think that's a mistake. A sports diver is already trained and qualified to do decompression diving. There's nothing in the dive leader syllabus that materially changes or advances the understanding that has been gained at sports diver level. There's lots in there about leadership and supervision skills which are really valuable, but they're not related. They're not part of what's happening when you go to do deeper diving. A dive leader is effectively the same qualification as dive master in other agencies. So for me, if a diver is qualified to do decompression, they should at least have the option to learn why helium might make that diving safer. The second issue, and I think this is one that a lot of BSAC members will have issue with, is the £45 course pack. This is a 4-module theory course. When you compare that to other BSAC courses with significantly more content, it doesn't compare. Particularly, I think that's important if your aim is to educate and normalise and make things safer. None of that undermines the core idea, but I think they are things that should have been addressed. And obviously there's still time to do both of those and to change them, and I hope BSAC will. Now, moving back to where I started, Nitrox became normal when education replaced mystique. Deeper Diver is attempting the same thing with Helium. It doesn't force divers to use it. It teaches them why they might want to, and that, for me, is the whole point of it. As I've already mentioned, I don't think it's perfect, but I do strongly believe the educational intent behind it is a really important thing, and one that I hope other organisations and other agencies will pick up on. If in 20 or 30 years, or possibly less, Helium is just another sensible tool for deeper divers, the same way Nitrox is today for, well, pretty much all diving, I think this course will have done exactly what it set out to do. And if we're still arguing about it by then, for me, something's gone badly wrong. I hope you've enjoyed hearing my thoughts on the BSAC Deeper Diver course. For those who aren't BSAC members, you may have found it quite interesting what a small British training organisation is doing, how it's trying to do things a bit differently. For BSAC members, please, what I would say is it is different. It's not something that the organisation has done before. In my view, you should get behind it and you should support it. For people who've enjoyed this video, I hope you'll have a look at some of my other ones. I've got plenty more containing my musings on a whole variety of different subjects related to diving, or particularly technical diving. But for now, that's it. I'm Dom Robinson, Deep Wreck Diver, and I will look forward to seeing you on my next video.